I recommend you buy this book because there's a lot of books out there about this stuff. Being a songwriter, I've read almost all of them. And, you know, this one is concise. It's really small and it really cuts to the chase on what you need to know. So I highly recommend that. And Erin is one of the top music attorneys around. She's been featured in Billboard magazine. She's written articles for Forbes magazine. She's one of the Billboard magazine's top music attorneys. So yeah, this is the person to listen to. She knows what she's talking about. So I'm going to turn things over to Erin. Erin Jacobson.
All right, so we'll just jump in. I'm going to keep it somewhat brief on the presentation part because I know a lot of people do want to ask questions. So I want to let people have that opportunity. And the first thing that people often have confusion about is the difference between the musical composition and the master recording. So in the music industry, the composition and the master are treated as two completely separate entities. They each have their own copyright ownership, they each have their own royalty streams, and it's often a confusing concept for many people. And the way that I like to explain this difference is, and for those of you who are composers, this might be a little more intuitive to you, but the composition is the music, the lyrics, what you're actually composing, the melody, what's on a lead sheet, things like that. Whereas the master recording is a recording of what that composition is. Even though it gets really complicated because it's like a big flow chart with all these things flying around, it's really important to keep them divided and keep that that separation there to understand what's really happening as far as what rights are being used and what each, we call them assets, or I call them assets, what each asset is earning, or what it should be earning, because that will come into play as far as contracts. So if you're signing a contract, what rights you're giving up or how that impacts what royalties that you will earn or be paid. So it's a really important concept that often gets overlooked or that people are very often confused about. So the next concept that there's a lot of confusion around is copyright. And what is copyright? How does copyright work? What does copyright give you? So copyright is basically a limited monopoly on the ownership of a work, which means having the ability to have authority over how a work is used and to earn income from that work, which would be the royalties. So in the United States, as far as copyright law goes, the moment a work that is original enough to qualify for copyright protection is what they call fixed in a tangible medium of expression, means that work has copyright protection. People say to me all the time, well, what if I mail it to myself and it has a postmark? Or what if I post it on the internet? Or there's this company online that says I can register with them for like $3 instead of spending the money that is charged at the Copyright Office, which depending on how and what is being registered, the application fees are $45 to $65 at this current time. So people are like, oh, well, I can register with this other company that's only charging $3. But none of those ways that people are doing, for lack of a better word, none of those methods are really considered by a court. So again, having that registration with the US Copyright Office is the best way to go as far as protecting. Generally, countries will recognize the copyrights of other countries, and they'll recognize the US copyrights and vice versa. But there are also ways that non-US residents can also register in the US too. So that would be, it would really be on a case by case basis as to whether that was really needed for a particular person. So I would say if that's something that's of interest in someone's work, then you should consult an attorney about that to see if that's the right thing for you. BMI and Ascap are performance rights organizations, which means they are basically collection agents that collect royalties when musical compositions are publicly performed, and then they pay those royalties to music publishers and songwriters. They are not a music publisher. They don't deal with copyrights. They don't do any of that stuff. Each type of royalty, because music has many types of royalties, there's mechanical royalties, there's performance royalties, there's synchronization fees, which are fees, not royalties, because those are contractual payments. There's print royalties, there's a whole bunch of different types of royalties. All of those royalties relate to different aspects of copyright ownership. So maybe that's reproduction or performance or different uses, depends how the music is being used. And in the book, I explain what each of these things are. I have a handy dandy chart that matches everything up and says what the royalty is and what it's for and who pays it and how you collect it and all that kind of stuff.